science fiction. We make no guarantees, however, how long it will remain fiction. Fiction. Fiction.
Searing, cinderous salutations, fellow cognonauts. Happy Friday. I am pleased to be your host for today's Exobit, and I am joined by my two lovely co-hosts, Nick and Mike. Nick, how are you doing today?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for asking. How are you?
Oh, well, I'm lovely. And you, Mike, how are you?
Yay, Friday.
We
I think you
made
mean
it.
Friday.
Yay.
That always just makes me think of holding a French fry and being like, yay.
We're just a sad bunch, man. I tell you.
Well, it's 2020. I mean, I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we were lamenting before we got on, folks, that it's catching up to us. We have tried to maintain that little pocket of sunshine for the whole year, but I think you all hit that wall. I don't know. Gentlemen, true? Not true? How
I
you
hit the
doing
wall
today?
in May.
I think I hit the wall when I was born. What is this happiness thing? What's going on? Sunshine?
I was born against the wall.
Yeah. Yes.
You
Good points.
Adopted the wall.
That is a Batman quote, guys. What's his name? The actor? Or the Bane. That was a good character. And why did he talk like that? Was that just... Did he talk like that? Or was
the
that
mask, but also just Tom Hardy being Tom Hardy.
Mm.
He always throws a weird voice on, which is always the same weird voice, which is interesting.
That is interesting. But, speaking of heartthrobs, let's get into today's cone.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, nicely done.
Thank you. I am bowing for those of you at home. So for today's show, I've decided to do another cone. It was kind of a busy week, so didn't have time to deviate, but I have lots of future ideas. But I think this is a good one. I think just for where things are at this point in the year, it is called My Heart Burns Like Fire. And let me just start off by reading it, and we'll start with some initial reactions after. So again, it's called My Heart Burns Like Fire. Soyen Shaku, the first Zen teacher to come to America, said, "My heart burns like fire, but my eyes are as cold as dead ashes." He made the following rules, which he practiced every day of his life. In the morning before dressing, light incense and meditate. Retire at a regular hour. Partake of food at regular intervals. Eat with moderation and never to the point of satisfaction. Receive a guest with the same attitude you have when alone. When alone, maintain the same attitude you have in receiving guests. Watch what you say, and whatever you say, practice it. When an opportunity comes, do not let it pass by, yet always think twice before acting. Do not regret the past. Look to the future. Have the fearless attitude of a hero and the loving heart of a child. Upon retiring, sleep as if you had entered your last sleep. Upon awakening, leave your bed behind you instantly as if you had cast away a pair of old shoes. So that completes the cone. Lots of rules, an interesting beginning. So Nick, let's start with you. Any initial thoughts and reactions to this one?
No, not really.
Interesting.
No, I'm kidding. That's it. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, all
right. No, it's as I said, we've said with these cones before, sometimes they're just kind of like a weird jump of sentences together. This one kind of feels that way, but upon like second look, I mean it. I don't know. It kind of makes sense as far as, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around the first initial sentence. Of course, the routine to me makes sense, but this, my heart burns like fire, but my eyes are as cold as dead ashes. Mm-hmm. That's where I think the mystery is, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around what that could mean.
Oh, thanks for jumping to my last question, but I agree
Oh,
with you.
okay.
There are many a scholar that have described the crux of the cone as that first sentence, and I'll read it again. My heart burns like fire, but my eyes are as cold as dead ashes. Mike, do you have any initial thoughts to the whole cone or that opening sentence?
Oh, from the routine side, I'm getting a real make your bed sort of vibe. Like a Jordan B. Peterson, like find a routine and stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first one, I guess it's maybe just the experience of coming to the States from probably somewhere that had more nature in it, where things didn't look so cold or so gray, like dead ashes, right? Because there's live ashes that have some sort of cindering on it, but then there's also like just the grayness of these dead ashes, which maybe is the city. I feel like I'm stretching a little bit, like the
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I had to do some thinking on this because, again, at first glance, I almost didn't even do this cone. It just felt like a lot of um, rule making, and I totally buzzed over the first paragraph as nonsense. And then I went back and I thought, well, no, I mean, what does he mean? So I guess just thinking about it, when he goes into all of those different routine aspects, to me, that seems like a sort of sense of like control, right? Creating a schedule, making a routine, that's harnessing in the wildness of the world. So I started to wonder, well, the heart burns like fire. Maybe that's just a hint that the human soul desires passion, desires newness, desires, it's just all over the place. But to make your eyes as cold as dead ashes, I was wondering if maybe part of it was to see, maybe not with your eyes, but your like third eye, your metaphorical eye, and kind of dampen those fires.
Hmm.
Is that a stretch, or I don't know? Do you think that
No,
could fit?
I think it could fit, certainly. I was kind of thinking this something similar. I was trying to liken it to like the concept of the fire that burns inside of you, but then tempering it with your outward appearance, because they say the eyes are the
Mm.
windows to the soul, right? So
Mm.
um, the concept of the eyes being cold and calculating, even
Mhm.
though the inner person is a raging fire. Perhaps that's sort of like a dualistic, holistic outlook on oneself. And in order to regulate that fire, the routine is implemented. Um, I don't know. I think there's probably more to it, but
I
that's kind of my initial reaction.
I,
Mhm.
I could definitely see that because Buddhism or Zen is all, or is Buddhism in general is all about that middle path, right? So if your heart's
Mhm.
burning like a fire, you need something to balance that, and
Hmm.
the annealing or tempering process, however you want to describe it, is that process you take to find that middle path.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. As Nick and I found out in our silversmithing adventures, fire heating things can lead to a lot of burning. We
Hmm.
burned right through some fire bricks in our kiln thing. So yeah, I think that's all spot on. Well, and I have some excerpts that I can share on that, but first, why don't we take a little dive into some of these routines that Soyen lays out for us. Now, on those, do any of you have a routine that you follow now?
Um, I have ones that I need to work on. I don't know if I follow any of this very well, per se. I mean, except for retiring early and um, or at a regular hour and partaking in food at regular intervals. Um, but I definitely could work on which one is it says. Oh yeah, the third one, which is receive a guest with the same attitude you
Mhm.
have when you're alone, and when alone, maintain the same attitude you have in receiving guests.
Yes.
Definitely a hurdle for me because I can turn it on when I'm being social, But then when I'm alone, I tend to like to be a lot more introverted. So that's something I should work on probably.
Yeah, and that's a really good one to point out. We were talking a while ago, or I guess during Mike's a little bit, just about the self and the presentation that you offer others, and kind of, there's when you get home and you kick off your shoes versus the idea that you're just always that person during the day. It's definitely something to consider. How can you start to narrow that gap and just not have to put on airs or change yourself or,
I would have
harness
no
anything
friends
else?
though.
Oh, you're not that bad.
No, I mean, I know that
Welcome
I'm
to the
not.
club.
Yeah. But no, it's kind of true though, because like if I was left to my own devices, I would be very antisocial. And I know when I have to get myself out of that. And seeing friends helps me out of that space. Because it's very difficult to get out on your own. But when you're socializing, it brings it out of me. It brings the extrovert out in me. And it's refreshing to have that. Now it can be exhausting if you're doing that too much, especially if you're an introverted person. But if you tend to be kind of a hermit, going out and being that social person is definitely invigorating to the spirit. But it's kind of a puzzle to me how one could maintain that sort of attitude throughout their day.
Yeah, it's hard to be extroverted when you're alone. What does that look like?
It's like
A whole lot.
talking to yourself.
Yep, a whole lot of talking to yourself.
Well, how about you, Mike? Are there any daily routines that you follow? Any from the list or of your own?
So there's this idea that you should begin every day anew. And I'm not too sure who said it. So I tend to take that route. I don't really have a routine. Like there's a few things that I do to like since childhood, like brushing my teeth before a shower or something like that. That I guess that's a daily routine. But no, I definitely understand like the introvert extrovert thing because I'm highly introverted. I think I might be the most like in the top 5% of introverted people according to all of the nice online personality tests. So yeah,
The top 5.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. But I do enjoy like the extremes though, like getting really introverted when you're crafting something, and then getting really extroverted, and like you're kind of widening the breadth of your soul. And,
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
from this,
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I'm sorry, my brain is like skipping. So the watch what you say and whatever you say, practice it. That one is good. I've had troubles with it in the past. I think it's just due to a poetic nature. There's a lot of power in misdirection and a lot of power in deception in general. But it's something that the philosopher in me tries to keep out, but like the storyteller, the poet keeps kind of butting in, which is why Nietzsche says like these poet philosophers are kind of pretty much assholes in a way. But that one's definitely one I could work on. And then don't regret the past. You got to look into your past. You have to do both. Like you keep one eye on it, whether it's your third eye or one of your actual eyeballs. I think it's important to keep your past in some sort of framework.
Yeah. Oh, I think these are all great things to consider, and I agree with you. I do think the past is important. I note that he says here, don't regret the past. So I wonder if it's just saying, you can look at it, just don't regret it. And I like the second part, looking to the future, because sometimes it's good to learn from it, but it is good to keep your eye on a North Star and move toward that. You're going to say, Nick?
No, I just think that Mike was right when he said that it's good to keep a little bit of the past with you, especially the things that you do regret, because it will inform your decisions in the future. Now, I understand this sort of Buddhist Zen philosophy of this, where it's like you need to let those things go in order to fulfill your karmic sort of balance sheet. But I think that in life, we definitely have things that we regret. All of us do. And knowing those things and identifying them like Mike is saying, is very vital in order to making the right decisions in the future. So I think that whereas we can all work on perhaps not letting our regrets consume us, I think that it's important for us to acknowledge when we do regret things.
Do you think that people regret more what they did or what they didn't do?
The latter, for sure.
Nope. You
There's
miss
just more
100% of the
opportunity.
shots.
Yeah.
You don't take.
Yeah, that was Michael Scott quoting Wayne Gretzky.
Quoteception.
No, I definitely think it's the latter. I mean, the concept of regretting the things that you have done over regretting the things that you haven't done. There's simply just more things that you haven't done, especially in like a decision tree. Like for every decision you make, you're basically annexing several other decisions that you could have made. And so,
that would drive you crazy to think of it that way.
oh yeah, well, I mean, that's why people can basically think themselves into paralysis. I'm thinking of like Chidi from
Yes.
The Good Place, if anybody's
Such a
ever
good
seen that show. But
I love
he's
Chidi.
this moral philosopher that just like drives himself crazy about the morality of every little decision, from a choice between soup or something else at a restaurant, like whether the produce was ethically sourced and like all that kind of stuff. Like, so I think that you can definitely turn yourself in knots, like worrying about the things that you haven't done.
That's true. And that reminds me of that first Portlandia episode where they go to eat someplace in Portland and they're talking about the chicken. Yeah. And he's like, did this chicken have a lot of friends?
Yeah. Then they end up going to the chicken farm and it's like this cult and they get sucked into it.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that show's great. Oh, man. Oh, Portland. I hope that city survives. Well, looking through this list of routine things, I thought that have the fearless attitude of a hero and the loving heart of a child routine was kind of interesting, that every day you would go out with this fearless hero attitude, but also the loving heart of a child.
What bothers me about that though? It's like, because these are like
a lot of pressure.
Well, yeah, but there's also, it's like these grandiose ideas of how we're supposed to live our lives. When do the opportunities ever arise for you to do that?
Exactly.
In your day-to-day life. Like, it's
Right.
so rare, and most people never even get the opportunity to be heroic in their lives.
It's true.
Wow. Yeah. Would you say you've ever done anything heroic in your
No.
life? Any memories of any heroicy? You were quick
No.
to say no.
Yeah, no, because I've thought about it before. Yeah, no, I haven't. And it's, it's so funny because there's been instances, not in heroicism at all, but just acts of kindness. I've had many a times where I've like passed a homeless person when I'm about to walk into the store. I don't have cash on me and I'm like, okay, I know they give me cash back. So when I check out, I'm going to ask for some cash back so I can give the homeless person a little cash. It won't be much. I don't have a lot of money, but it'll be something. Every single time I do that, the person is gone by the time I leave the store.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
It frustrates me so much because I'm like, I'm trying to do something nice. And
I was with you one
Now I have
time.
all this extra money. What am I going to do with this extra money now?
This whole $5.
Well, I was with you one
Hey,
time. We were
GoPro's
at
trading.
GoPro. Well, we were at In-N-Out one time, and we
yeah.
saw somebody asking for money for food, and they were near In-N-Out, so we got them a burger, and then they told us they were vegetarian, and we were just like,
No, he didn't even say he was a vegetarian. He just said he didn't want it. And I was like, oh, okay. So don't ask money for food then. Ask money for whatever you're going to use your money on.
Nick was so salty about that. I mean,
Yeah,
I would
no
be too. You're
judgment.
trying to do something nice, but like,
And look, honestly, I would give the person cash no matter what. I don't care what a homeless person is doing with their money. Like, they have a rough life. If it's to score a little bit of drugs or to get a bottle of alcohol, I don't care. But when you ask for money for food and then I buy you food and then you're like, no, I don't want it. And then it's like, come on, man, just be honest.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to get
There's
a burger so I can be a hero, and I'm trying to approach you with the loving heart of a child, and it's a lot.
Why aren't you here?
What's that?
It's just like, why aren't you here?
Yeah, but I think there's something hardening about that too, which is kind of unfortunate, and I think it's a symptom of just living in large cities. But there's something hardening about the approach of interacting with the world as, you know, with the heart of a child, and then being received illy by society. You know, and so I think it's unfortunate because, you know, in a lot of respects, it is a good thing to do, but in the environment most people live in, it will almost assuredly backfire on you.
Well, it's like interesting because I think there's a TED talk about vulnerability and how it actually takes great courage to be vulnerable. And so you could say that this one sentence is having the courage to go out and be an innocent and preserve that in yourself, despite the ills of the world.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying there's only so much people can take. So
That's true. You got to look out for yourself. Well, so these are some interesting little routines here. You know, one of the routines I've been finding myself in this quarantine is when falling asleep, thinking on gratitude, just what I'm grateful for, 5 things. And it really helps. So I think there's some value in sort of cultivating some sort of something that you do every day. So then bringing it back to this, my heart burns like fire, but my eyes are as cold as dead ashes. In some ways, back to what we were talking about, ashes are the result of fire. So there's like a event happening, right? The first event is the heart burning. The resulting event are the eyes being cold. So I wonder if part of this first sentence is saying to not let your, oh, did I already? I guess I'm repeating myself. I thought it was a different thought, but it wasn't so much. Well, okay.
I will say, though, I think that it is more likely that this, the initial sentence is about tempering the desires of within. I think that there's a lot of that, especially when using the when applying the routine right afterwards. It seems as though most of this routine is to temper the instinctual desires that humans innately face every day. And so I think that it's likely that the most of this meaning is about finding something that can calm the fires within your heart.
Yeah.
Fire is always a reactionary force. So something has to set your heart on fire. Your heart just doesn't, it's just not on fire all the time, right? So once the heart starts to burn, then you can get this whole process going.
Well, and that leads into this good insight that I was, trying to look up what other people thought about this cone, and whether this has to do with it specifically or not, because it's all very mysterious and confuscating. But they were talking about Buddhist insight on wakeful presence. So you can think of like mindfulness, and I've been seeing mindfulness everywhere. And I guess it's just the idea, like, if you assume that humans are suffering and you take, for example, washing the dishes as something you have to suffer, well, you can also make it a mindfulness activity and just start focusing on your breathing and washing and maybe thinking or meditating or reflecting about the future. So I wonder, to what extent do these daily routines, maybe it's not so much about what you're doing, but maybe it's about how you do it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also interesting that the influx of mindfulness, philosophy is taking place on social media. I think that there's a little bit of irony in the idea that people are talking about mindfulness while they're scrolling through Instagram.
That's true.
But I do agree with you, Ayla. I think about it. I don't know if it's about the specific task. Although I will say that there are definitely tasks that are better than others when you're trying to have a fulfilling day. So, robbing a bank every day, if you're doing it every day, just doesn't make it good for you.
I mean, but the way
It
you
makes
do
it
it.
boring.
The way you do it, if you do it with finesse and pizzazz, then
Make it
obviously.
a spectacle.
Yeah.
Have a
Oh,
musical
geez.
in the middle of the bank
Right.
robbery.
Right, you make it the best bank robbery ever. No, but I definitely think there is something to that. It's the concept of, if you're going to do something, do it all the way and really commit to doing a good job, because the only fulfillment that you get in practice is that you do the best that you can. And so, if you apply that to doing the dishes, well, if you don't do the dishes very well, or if you do it kind of slapdash, it's not going to be as rewarding as if you really just thoroughly do all the dishes and you clean the kitchen and you're taking that time to be attentive to the details.
Says the one that put a dirty pot
Don't
lid
start
back in the cabinet.
Knew that was coming out.
You
Knew
set
it.
it up, sir. Anyway, I'm such a classic Virgo. You ask someone to wash the dishes, then you complain they don't do it right. Like, it's just the worst. No, but thank you, Nick. You did a great
Mhm.
job. It was just the one lid. But
Maybe use just 1 cup a day, huh?
he
Instead of
swears,
20 cups in one day.
look, I need a cup for water, a cup for my soda, a cup for my
Cup for
coffee,
tea, a cup for
tea.
coffee.
It adds up.
Yeah.
Well, so this leads me to my last little bit. So I wanted to read just something that I came across, and I thought it was kind of relevant here. It starts out: our society would have us believe that inner satisfaction depends on our success and achievement. Yet, struggling to get somewhere keeps us perpetually busy, stressed out, and disconnected from that essential inner resource, our ability to be fully present, which could provide a real sense of joy and fulfillment. Our life is unsatisfactory only because we are not living it fully, because instead we are pursuing a happiness that is always somewhere else other than where we are now.
And who wrote that?
I would have to tell you later. That was from a blog reaction to this cone.
Okay.
But it
Because I was
was.
going to say it would be interesting if that person wrote that like before the internet.
Oh, wait, no, you know who this was? This was the American clinical psychologist John Wellwood, who frequently writes about the integration of psychological and spiritual concepts. And he wrote in a book called Ordinary Magic, Everyday Life as Spiritual Path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I would just say that, the internet and social media and stuff really make it difficult to be present. And I'm speaking really for myself, at least at this point. Like I can find myself enveloped in, reading articles, reading comment sections, just diving into that kind of stuff. And I do notice that I am, if I'm doing that for too long, I feel disconnected from reality. And it's something that I need to be more mindful of, because I know that it can be a detriment to my psyche.
Mm-hmm.
And I would assume that a lot of people probably share that experience.
Oh man, trust me. I signed up for all these petitions at the start of the year. I was just like, I'm going to just support everything. And then all these articles day after day, I was getting just terrible news. And I had to just delete a lot of different accounts because I couldn't take it. I was like, no, I don't want to be inundated. I would much rather seek it out. And I always thought that was kind of an interesting thing about social media. It's like, it's shifted. You used to just have your friends' posts, but now it's like a news source and a advocacy source and an information source, and it's all just like flying at you according to some algorithm that, like, I still don't understand how it codes you. So
it's such a lazy algorithm too, because yeah. I mean, as we had this conversation just yesterday or today, I don't even remember. Every day is the same. So, we had this conversation about Facebook and like Instagram and stuff. Like, I don't have a whole lot of friends on Facebook, but I have 150 or so like that, and I only see 10 to 15 people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, either the other 130 people or 140 people just don't use Facebook anymore, which is entirely possible. But
Mhm.
I mean, it shocks me how little I see of the people that I'm supposed to be friends with on this social media site. Like, I just don't see them. And the same thing with
Mhm.
Instagram. Like, I try to follow all my friends on Instagram and keep up with what they're doing. And I'm overtaken by blue check mark accounts almost all the time. And I only
ads.
follow a handful of those, but those get guaranteed on my newsfeed and everybody else doesn't get shown.
Mhm.
So it's like I'm not even connected with my friends anymore on social media. And I think that that's
Well,
an issue.
and I'll take it a step further. It's like, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I could post an article like a science-y thing or a meme or whatever, or some new X-Men movie that's coming out. And all my friends would see it and we would comment and make jokes and share gifs, and it was a fun thing. And then we'd plan a day to go out.
Mhm.
Now, I mean, if I want to share something, I have to text this friend because they're off social media. I have to Facebook DM this person. I have to email this other person. I need to Instagram them. This other person's only on Snapchat, so I have to text them and email them. I mean, it's like the whole concept of bringing everyone together went away the immediate moment we had like multiple platforms.
And it wouldn't
And
even matter if everybody was in the same place, because I post things on my social media all the time, and it's not like I'm expecting to rave reviews anytime I post something, but I get barely anything most of the time. And that I see that for a lot of people. It's not just myself. I see a lot of people who post things and they just don't get any. It's like they're posting to nothing. You
Well,
know what I mean?
yeah, and I'll have it where I'll post on like a Tuesday at 9 a.m. and nothing. But then I post on a Wednesday at 3 p.m. and then boom, there's like 30 responses. And I'm like, one wasn't necessarily better than the other. It's definitely a timing thing. So something's off. And I don't know, would our tech friend Mike have any opinions on algorithms or multiple platforms and community?
Those things. Well, it's really useful to have an internet persona if you're worried about the algorithm. And then I don't know why, as humans, we are so obsessed with conquering. Like, we have to get those comments, we have to get those likes.
I'm just trying to get people to watch a movie with me on the same day.
You know what?
Yeah.
That's it. I don't want to have to do so much work.
It's one of those things, though, because it's like the original tool for social media was to share the things that you're doing. Now it's like if I post something on social media, and I try to do as little as possible. Usually if I make something, I like to post it just like, show people I'm actually alive and doing things. But if like, it's so weird because a lot of people, and I think that this is totally normal and absolutely fine actually, but a lot of people will see what you post and then they just won't react to it. And then when you see them in person, they'll be like, oh yeah, I saw that thing you did. That was really cool. And, so it's like, that's totally fine with me. But sometimes it feels like you're just like invisible, which is very strange.
I don't know. It's pretty nice being invisible. Like I said, it just feels like a conquering mentality. Like this idea of hamster wheel work and like struggling to get somewhere that keeps us perpetually busy / disconnected. It seems like even now with connectedness, we have to be competitive. Like, you have to get those likes, you have to get those comments. Otherwise, it implies that there's something socially or psychologically wrong with you, which is like a farce, in my opinion, especially as someone like that is part of the old internet where anonymity was the virtue. It was that you got to just say whatever. It didn't have to be you. It could be anything your imagination can conjure up.
Right. Yeah.
But
that's true. But I mean, like, I think we are animals and we like to have feedback when we do things. And so I think my whole thing is that social media was built for that. It was built for that feedback of you posting something and then getting engagement. Now, I'm not saying that I deserve to have 100 likes on everything I post, But like it's nice to, especially for the closest people in my life, it's nice to engage with people in that platform. But it's been totally like it does. It's not working anymore. And so I think Ayla and I were talking about this. Like it's just broken. It's broken, and to be honest, like there's no point in it anymore. And maybe that's good. Maybe it's good for us to kind of come to that point as a society and realize like this is all, a bunch of hooey, and we need to just stop this because it's nonsense, which I'm totally for.
And
But
go
what about
ahead.
the Twitter flame wars?
I
gosh.
don't even touch Twitter, man.
What about
never go
what
on
about
Twitter.
the meme
Demon
wars?
bird.
Or
meme wars-
meme?
The meme wars are great, but those are forums, like that's all
Yeah.
about anonymity anyways. The memes, only just trickle up to Facebook when the normies take them, but like all of the real war stuff is happening in anonymous boards. So I still
True.
think those are great. Yeah.
The art of
You
the
like
internet.
meme boards and fail videos is my
yeah.
memory.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god. Is 4chan the flaming heart of the internet while Facebook is the dead cold eyes?
Oh my god.
It
I
probably
don't
is
know.
somehow.
I don't know. Yeah, I
What-
still don't understand Reddit. I was actually looking up interpretations for the Zen cone, and I got like 2 Reddit threads that popped up for
Mhm.
this one cone. And I mean, like, first of all, it is a shitty interface. Why is it so popular? Like, I don't understand.
It's very
Like-
basic. It's like an old forum. That's
Yeah,
just the way forums
Reddit-
were.
Reddit came from the guys that made Dig, Alex
Mhm.
Rose. Back
What's
in the
Dig?
Dig was a website that was kind of like Reddit, where you could post things and upload it and downvote it. Then that got too normie, so the devs decided to make this thing called Reddit. And that's the reason why it's so simple or seems so unintuitive, I guess, is that it's made by a bunch of developers. So it's not really for the user in mind. It was
And
just
that's
supposed
another
to be
thing.
backwater.
That's another thing is I'm just looking forward into the future. Like we're just going to have endless amounts of new platforms because like it seems to me that once, as you call them, the normies or, parents get on a platform, it's over. And that the driving force of most of these social platforms are the younger generation. So it just seems like, we had TikTok, so there's going to be something else that like only the kids like. And then in 10 years from there, it's going to be something else, and then there's going to be something else. It's like, why don't we just have one app that does all the things that all the apps do, and then there's like ageism built in. But you can't even do that because that's not right. Like, right? So, but like, what is it about us wanting to separate the youth from like the established, the parents,
The
the
youth,
normies?
the youth hate the old because it reminds them they're gonna die.
Well, too,
So weird.
the old get super settled in their ways, and they believe that their way is the right way. And youth tends to
Stifles.
well, youth is always rebellious, right? Like if you're youthful and obedient, I could argue that you're wasting your youth.
Mm.
But that rebellious nature is supposed to build something better, right? Like the old generation is supposed to pass on the traditional ideas in a way, or however they do that, and it's supposed to come in conflict with the new generation, these new ideas. And then from there, you build a better idea from these two interacting.
And there's something to that because I remember when I was more youthful, I would look around at like my mentors, the older folks, the elders, and things like that, and they just seemed to complain. There was really no wisdom that was passed down. So I don't know. It's weird because like as we age and transition into that role, it's like, how can we start to, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like elevate the position of our elders.
I got you. It's because the elders have to always behave in a respectful manner so they don't get any regrets, or they don't get as many regrets as they should, because wisdom is really gained through the experience of regrets. So like regretting something you didn't do is, just one thing. But when you experience something, there's a gift of wisdom that you get. So I ponder as people get older, they believe they're wiser, but they don't make enough mistakes to actually become wise.
Is that why you think that upon retiring, sleep as if you had entered your last sleep, and upon waking, leave your bed behind you instantly as if you had cast away a pair of old shoes? because it would stand to
Yeah.
reason that when you retire, you're older, and like there's a sense to that where you appreciate each day knowing that, you know, like your life is coming to a close, but you also wake up with a zest to go out into the world and I guess share knowledge at that point.
Of course, like yeah, you feel death is closer, is perceived as closer. In reality, you know, I'm no further from death than somebody who's, I don't know, 110 or something.
Oh man, I've been
I could
almost
have a
dying
brain
since I was
aneurysm.
a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
seriously.
that's sort of the reality. But as you get older, though, it's like, okay, now I know my time is coming. It's no longer some probability if I jaywalk and get hit by a car or something like that. Now it's becoming a real thing. So, yeah, I can see that zeal. You know your time is limited, so you press harder, you press forward.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, this has been a really good conversation. I like it. Took a lot of twists and turns, and I like the fact that we brought in a little bit of that social media to just think about cultivating the present moment, being awake, attentive, responsive. Do you do it online? Do you not do it online? And all the differences and takes in between. Do either of you have any final thoughts about this cone or anything we brought up?
I think there is a true merit in finding ways that allow you to create some type of routine in your life. Now, it doesn't have to be to the point in monotony, but little things that can fortify the goal of what you want your life to be. I think that that's the best way to do it. So it's whether you want to be, successful at X, Y, or Z, do little things throughout the day that can kind of fortify that belief in your head, because that's all this all is. It's just repetition and behavior, and repeating these things creates reality.
I like that. Mike, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I guess like similar. Sort of these routines can build discipline, through doing them over and over, and discipline tempers passions, which is good. But um, once the discipline is built, there is a little leeway for like doing no routine, or if you're doing no routine, just enjoying the fact that enjoying the chaos, I guess. I don't know. But there's value in both, but definitely start with the routine. Start by building one, and then you can experiment with the no routine thing.
Yeah, I like that. And, as a final reflection on the opening sentence, um, I kind of remembered my point that the heart burns like fire, but the eyes are cold as dead ashes. It almost seems to present this duality within ourselves that we can want for a lot of things, but we can also move through life as if we have those things already or don't need them. And that gets back to the idea of, dropping that need for getting somewhere, for being constantly busy and postponing our happiness in the now for some happiness in the future, because all we have is right now sometimes. So to be mindful of those and to cultivate the best day by having maybe benchmarkers or frames of thought, or even just stopping to think about why you are here and who you are and who you want to be. So thank you so much for chatting with me tonight, my lovely co-hosts. And Nick, did you want to do our standard little exobit ending?
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed this conversation. I know I did. Thank you, Ayla, and thank you, Mike, for being here. And it's always lovely to converse with you guys. So thank you guys for listening. And if you would be so kind, if you enjoy this stuff that we do, please consider following us on Instagram at Exofathom. Consider subscribing to our YouTube channel at Exofathom. And on Facebook, we are at Exofathom as well. Please also consider visiting our thinkering.space site, where we are a part of a network of podcasts, whether it's the Thinkering Report, The Plank with Joe, or If Numbers Can Talk. please give us a look-see on the websites and give us some feedback. Let us know how you feel. And yeah, until next time, Cognonauts, you stay out there, and we will catch you on the next Exofathom. Good night.
Peace.
Later.